Hello everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast. This audio podcast, as part of the Howl and Shitstorm. This audio podcast as part of the Shit Mode and Adam. And this audio podcast is part of the Mayhem Squad. And this audio podcast is part of a Storm Lobostics production. In this audio podcast today, we're going to go through a little bit in around a link between the intro, part of the intro, part of an introduction, and part of looking at sort of pathophysiology in around some well articulated and sort of written works by pharmacology student student C Jefferson and the works the works was originally in around looking at Crohn's disease. So Crohn's disease is evidenced as a persistent inflammatory bowel disease (YBD) and affects millions globally, leading to major disruptions with erratic flare-ups and debilitating symptomologies. And despite significant advances in scientific settings such as laboratories and in amongst scientific laboratories and within clinical research. The main causes of Crohn's still actually to this day remain generally unknown, presenting sort of challenges in its management. So the works that C. Jefferson and some colleagues and some of C. Jefferson's colleagues had articulated in sort of retrospectively had looked to evidence the sort of investigation in around the pathophysiology and diagnosis and treatment aspects pertaining to Crohn's disease. And the team actually looked at doing this by showcasing, highlighting, and then sort of informing scientific advancements and sort of in around aspects pertaining to patient care or healthcare service, in around patient care or healthcare service users, and understanding and sort of putting a sort of an understanding or comprehension around the condition. So in around the sort of pathophysiology, this small intestine specializes in absorbing nutrients, while the large intestine focuses on water absorption and forming waste. The process concludes within or at the anus, where waste is expelled, and this system collaborates with organs like the liver, pancreas, and the gallbladder to ensure proper digestion and overall health. The small intestine is primarily responsible for nutrient absorption, while the large intestine focuses on absorbing water and shaping waste. The process ends at the anus, where the waste is expelled from the body, and supporting this system are organs such as the liver, pancreas, and gallbladder, which play crucial roles additionally in facilitating digestion and maintaining overall health care. Crohn's disease therefore affects the gastrointestinal tract, and it begins with inflammation around the intestinal crypts that could that could then spread throughout the bowel wall, and the development commonly leads to fibrosis or scarring and the formation of strictures. So there can be occlusions or strictures blocking the sort of blocking the sort of fluidity or the flow within and of the intestinal contents, and so furthermore the ongoing inflammation or the sort of inflammation can also lead to development of fistulas, which is basically a joining sort of joining within where there can be occlusion or stricture, which are abnormal connections that are additionally referred to as abnormal connections between the bowel to other organs like the bladder and the skin. So as the inflammation continues, non-caseating granulomas form, and clusters of immune cells, which is seen, which has been evident, which is evident in about in where literature informs in around 33% of patients with Crohn's disease. And additionally, Crohn's disease can result in the growth of ulcers in the superficial lesion, but can expand into deeper layers of the bowel, worsening the condition. So that draws this audio podcast to a close. The follow-up audio podcast. In this audio podcast series, we'll look a little bit more into the pathophysiology. This audio podcast was sort of a link between the introduction, and looking at the physiology. So that draws this audio podcast to a close. This audio podcast is part of the Howl and Shiztorm. The audio podcast is part of the Shit Mode Atom, and this audio podcast as part of the Mayhem Squad. And this audio podcast is part of a Storm Lobostics production.